please welcome from EDF, the largest energy provider in EU, if you didn't know that. And this is Frederic Fontan.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Please answer first the question, will the light stay on?
That's the mystery. So
we are so scared.
2 comments and 1 challenge, if you don't mind, Eva. 2 comments. The first one, thank you so much for that invitation, because obviously that was a very interesting conference. And just like what Marek was saying before, we do consider that in terms of heat pump, Sweden is really the country that we all focus on due to the fact that there is an interiority, there is a maturity, and so that's the reason why it's so important to us to be present. So again, thank you so much. Second thing, we will talk about electricity and the needs of electricity, but obviously, as we are French and a little bit narrow-minded, we will focus our presentation mainly in France, even if due to the fact we belong to what we call the copper plate in Europe, the eventual issues that we could have in France will have also eventually an impact in different countries. But all my presentation will be made particularly in France. Last but not least, all the information that I will give you today comes from public information, mainly coming from the TSO, the Transmission System Operator in France, whose name is RTE, Réseau de Transport d'Electricité, or the DSO, the Distribution System Operator, whose name is Enedis. So you can have also that information on internet sites of both TSO and DSO. So main question is, the lights will stay on or not? That's a major issue. I don't want to come back on the landscape and so on. It has been done during the whole day, but we all know that decarbonization, electrification, and renewable energy will be the major things in order to reach that common ambition at a European level and even at a national one. So electricity will be key in 2050. If we look at what should be the curve of demand in the coming years, based on the main policies and so on. For instance, here you've got the what we call the low carbon national strategy, the SNBC, Stratégie nationale bas carbone. And it's a national plan in order to try to reduce our final energy from around 1,700 terawatt hour to 900 something terawatt hours between today and 2050. It means all the final energy, but at the same time, you will see that the part of electricity will grow from 27% in 2020 to almost 55% in 2050. Why? Mainly because there will be new uses of electricity. And so major questions will be, okay, carbon neutral trajectory will be based on massive electrification and on uses. But at the same time, and particularly in France, we had some issues on the production park in the last months, and so the question is: do we have enough electricity, and will we have enough electricity in the future in order to cope with the requirements of new heat pumps and so on? Just a parenthesis: some articles in the press were showing that we should need more than 60 more EPR nuclear reactors in France in order to cope with that new requirement. as a teasing, it's not true. So the answer is the light will stay on, and we will try to demonstrate it, even if, and that's the challenge of the presentation, we are one of the last presentations, and the demand curves are particularly complex and so on, so I will try not to kill you, but if I don't, please forgive me. So, first of all, you will see that the demand evolution is quite limited. Why? If we take the demand on 2018, it was around 475 terawatt-hour. And in order to have an idea of what should be the demand in 2050, we will have to add, first of all, what we call the organic growth. That is to say that there will be new dwellings, there will be new industries, and they will need, obviously, to have electricity. 47 terawatt-hours. Then there will be also electrification. That is to say that for the time being, what is considered for heating, for instance, but also in industry and so on, new uses will grow also the use of electricity. But at the same time, there will be a sort of double movement. That is to say that the energy efficiency will reduce by 200 terawatt-hours the demand only due to energy efficiency. Then there will be also specific uses due to the climate change, to the global warming. That is to say that our TSO expects that the use for heating will decline by 7 terawatt-hours, but at the same time, there will be new uses for air conditioning, that is to say more or less 6 terawatt-hours. So that means that at the end of the day, we are now at 475 terawatt-hours, and we will reach 645 terawatt-hour in 2050. That means that it's an increment, but the growth is not that huge, and we can cope with it. Now we will try to have an idea of what should be the new uses, and you will see that in fact the specific demand for heating in electricity, you will see that the curve is lower than today. First graph, we are talking about 2 different weeks. Today, in fact, not today, but in 2020, but you will understand easily. The first one is in winter, when we do have issues with heating, and the second one is in summer. First of all, what we can see is that in winter, we do have, in fact, 2 peaks, one in the morning, the other in the evening, depending on the beginning of the heating for the industries, for the enterprises, and so on, and when people come back to their dwellings in the evening. The shape of the curves in 2050 is totally different. That is to say that we will add new uses, and we will add also some flexibility using I would say the specific generation made by renewable energy. For instance, what is the generation made by solar PV will be used specifically for hydrogen. You will see it in blue in the winter curve, or for the charge of electric vehicle. Second thing that we can see is that the peak will be the same, more or less, between winter and summer. That is to say that the main difference won't be there anymore between summer and winter. We do have a demand around 100 gigawatt. So what we can see, a part of it, is that the specific use of heating, it's in blue on the left side of the graphs, and you will see that in fact it will be reduced due to the energy efficiency, and the reduction of that will be of minus 5 gigawatts of capacity demand in 2050. So that means that at the end of the day, for specific uses in heating and so on, that won't be what should be the new dimension of our grid, of our production system, of our electricity system. We will have to try to design our grid for other aspects. And other aspects are, first of all, the battery, the capacities the storage capacity in the grid. Second, there will be also a major investment in the coming years that won't come from the heat pump, but from the new uses of electricity. I promise it will be my last curve. It's a little bit complicated, but you will understand, I hope, easily. Let's take the example of a particular region of France. We are talking about Occitania. Occitania is the region around Toulouse, in the southern part of France. That region, they have got a lot of sun and so on, and so in the coming years there will be a lot of solar panels and so on. For the time being, the curve, it's an aggregated curve of all the substations in the distribution grid of Occitania. It's mainly what we have above zero, okay? That is to say that we do have in orange, the graph in orange, that is the consumption of electricity. But what we will have to take into account will be that in the coming future, there will be some production, okay? And the production, the injection on the substation will be slightly higher than the current consumption in every substation. That is to say that, for instance, you've got a medium at around 5 gigawatts of consumption for the time being, and it can reach in winter 10 gigawatts of injection, or even 15 gigawatt of injection in the coming summer years. So that means that at the end of the day, the whole dimension of the grid won't come from the new uses of electricity, that is to say, heat pump and so on, but it will come from the injection coming from solar, coming from wind and so on. And you will see at the end of the day that, in fact, it's not anecdotic. All the points that you've got are the substation that needed a reinforcement in 2020, or that will need a new reinforcement in 2050. And you can see that in 2020, due to the program of modernization of our grid and so on, there were a lot of substations that were reinforced mainly for demand purposes. But if you look at what is going in 2050, the main part of the reinforcement of all the substations in France will come specifically for injection, for generation. And with that, I think it's all my presentation.
Of course. I mean, tack så mycket. Tack så mycket. I was impressed. I mean, you can actually forecast now for 2050, and what we can see is that the generation of electricity is so distributed. It's really,
Yes.
I mean, it's in every backyard.
Yeah. I fully agree with you. That's a part of the problem. That is to say that depending on the region, depending on the local meteorology and so on, you will, depending also on the shape of the grid, you will have a different way to proceed. For instance, I come from the southwestern part of France, a lovely region near Bayonne, but it's a human desert. That is to say that I'm the only guy that considers that it's a lovely region, because there are not many people that are living there. The main thing is that with that, the grid, and particularly the distribution grid, is particularly weak. In the coming future, due to the fact there is a lot of sun, there is a lot of there is some wind and so on, we will have eventually new projects that will occur. Due to the fact the grid is, for the time being, is a little bit weak because nobody lives there, blah blah blah. That means that we will have to have major changes in that in order to welcome all those new productions.
Exactly. Thank you so much, and please take a seat over there. And